All right, everybody. Today we're going to be chopping up the weeds on the most disrespected Presidente. Now, me personally, I've been alive a long time 62 years, 26 years, and I have never seen a more disrespected and ignored president as DJT. And I already butt tested for TDS. And I don't have it, unfortunately. But you know what? Easier to explain at this point than why I care so much about this stupid shit. Let's get into this bitch. Somehow landing amongst the likes of Lincoln and Andrew Johnson, hell, even Nixon, Mr. Trump has faced accusations and assassination attempts on his life one after another. While facing a fierce battle against corruption, he has become highly polarizing and faces quite the opposition, particularly with the media and the so-called political elite. Even though before becoming political, he was, capitalistically elite. Anyway, coming up now against 2 impeachments, multiple social media bans, global protests, and the constant barrage of satire, if that's what we call everything in that comedic space now, you could argue much of this so-called hate or backlash is self-inflicted. And you know what? You'd have a compelling foundation for that argument. In my short time on this earth, admittedly very short, but well read, I don't care, I've come to view Trump's presidency as fundamentally flawed, largely due to his lack of integrity and questionable leadership for the greater good. To truly understand why, we should start at the very beginning, with his father, his lineage, and the family history that led to the man we now know today. Oh, I wish all the other recordings I was doing were working, but you know what? I should probably test before I record 25 minutes of dialogue. The Trump name, now Trump, due to the 30-year war in the 1600s, was succeeded by a traveling lawyer, Hans Strumpf, continued by Johannes Trump, who became a prominent wine grower in Karlstadt, Germany. It's important to note at this point, in Karlstadt history, they had merged with the Kingdom of Bavaria as a result of Austrian rule exchanging the area with the Kingdom of Bavaria in 1816. This turmoil, history is a fucking mess. This turmoil, you could argue, led to the immigration of Trump's great-grandfather, Frederick Trump, born Frederick, I think I'm saying that right, in 1885. Working as a barber before gaining a mind for finance amidst the Klondike Gold Rush, possibly, and this is up to debate, the restaurants that Frederick opened to attract the gold rushers during that area were also functional brothels. Regardless, right? Doesn't matter. Winkity. This momentary foothold established a possibility for the Trump name in the U.S. to rise to higher heights as immigrants. Second, even third heights. Ironically enough, the Trump name has Elizabeth Christ Trump to thank. As always, thank your Lord Savior Christ. She's a woman. She secured the family's real estate ventures and co-founded E. Trump & Son with Fred in 1927. The focus was on Queens, New York. The hustle and bustle of real estate ever so loomed above everybody's heads. Money was to be made, even at the sake of the greater good, as always. Born in 1905, Fred, roughened by the Bronx, had grown an affinity for construction development. Throwing up single-family homes during the Great Depression and World War II, he capitalized on the subsidies provided by federal housing. After the wars, he used the real estate foothold to pivot into larger realties, such as large-scale apartment complexes and public housing projects. In 1968, at the age of 22, hot and smexy, Trump ended up unfit to serve for the Vietnamese War due to bone spurs in his heels. This excuse was one of 5 that Trump received to remove him from the draft of the Vietnamese War. When questioned later on, he couldn't remember the doctor's name and remarked the bone spurs weren't even that bad to begin with and never had a lasting impact. High friends in low places. Or whatever. This likens him to George Bush and Bill Clinton. Bill once saying in a letter to an ROTC officer, "Thank you for saving me from the draft." Not uncommon, many who ended up running for prez were deferred from the military draft, yet heavily support its funding. Do we need to ask why? No, you should probably know. No offense, you know. His pappy helped him learn to step into the family business and entrench himself into the bustling real estate empire that was growing under the Trump name. Near immediately, Donald hit the ground with a more ambitious and at times frivolous stride than his father. Thanks to his dad and his hard work, establishing a secure and steady cash flow allowed for him to springboard, so to speak, into more risk-adverse ventures. He wanted to munch on Manhattan. He wanted more, bigger, and better. Not necessarily than his father, but everybody. A goal far out of one's unskilled reach to grasp for, he went for it, for some reason. By the early 1970s, Donald had shifted the company in name and energy. Now, the Trump Organization had become a more image-focused entity, turning the Commodore into the Grand Hyatt New York in 1980, building the Trump Tower, his casinos in Atlantic City, and his purchasing of multiple foreign lands. Something he preaches against, but go figure. Boom. The thing is, ambition and image alone don't define Donald Trump's complex legacy. His personal life, dotted with controversies, children with multiple partners, repeated allegations of sexual misconduct, unsettling connections to Jeffrey Epstein, and documented offensive remarks towards women and underage girls, paint a really troubling portrait beneath his carefully curated persona. Beyond personal conduct, too, his ventures like Trump University, Trump Steaks, and Trump Air all collapsed spectacularly. Like, holy shit. Leaving many questioning his integrity as a businessman and a leader, the efficacy of it. Further casting shadows or ties to influential figures like Elon Musk, whose sizable contributions raise questions of influence and endorsements from deeply problematic entities such as white supremacist groups. Such contradictions demand scrutiny. Is Trump's legacy one of bold entrepreneurialism, or is it an alarming tapestry of ethical failures and broken promises? Is he under more scrutiny than those before him? Absolutely. Should he be? Obviously. Should we wish for continual improvement upon each iteration within any government? Duh. Like, what the fuck are we even talking about here? How do we do that? Change. Acknowledging that we're uncomfortable. The thing is, of course, this video has a personal bias. Like, if you haven't been able to tell what mine is from by now, I don't really know what to do. Just keep in mind, please, for those of you that are still listening, that my purposes are not solely political. They aren't. Frankly, they are more moral and logical. When I deduce the concerns surrounding him, I can't help but at the very least feel uncertain about his character. He aligns with other big promisers who deliver small. The instances in which he is ignored or brushed off in the Oval fucking office is more than one, and that's one too many for any president, red or blue. Don't care which side. My point being, disrespect towards presidents, leaders of any form, is not new. That's why we have free speech, the ability to peacefully protest, disagree in any form. In general, nothing comes from the lack of good faith, though. Good or bad. I'd argue it's a net neutral draw on the existence we all share. The thing is, those who wish to lead us should, more than anyone, uphold logical consistency and morality when push comes to shove. Leadership requires integrity, genuine accountability, and actual clarity, not just the appearance of it. This isn't only about Donald Trump. It is not only about the USA, or only the conservatives, or only the liberals or Democrats. It is about us, the individuals, losing their reputation altogether. It's kind of weird, but please just stay with me here. When we consider the broader strokes of the United States and how it was created, painted by the likes of Lincoln when he stood at the Gettysburg under great humility, JFK when he inspired a nation to the moon and the stars and whatever the fuck is gonna be on Mars, MLK Jr. during the March in Selma under personal risk every single day, and look where that got him. Frankly, to throw in a bad example, Nixon. Basically what happens when we trust too much without verifying. Society suffers the most. When the integrity of our leadership fails, society suffers. We need to push our focus onto those truly urging for the common and greater good amongst us that come from us. Yes, there is enough money in the world. I promise you that. There is more than enough. I will make a different video on that Go figure. We need to honor those who choose to do true good with their time, especially when their way in the world is already paid. Ending. When billionaires like Donald Trump or Elon Musk posture as allies of the common man, when constantly ignoring their personal calls to action, promising to close the very wealth gap their fortunes depend on, skepticism isn't just rational, it's essential. Trump's policies, like sweeping corporate tax cuts or deregulation favoring real estate giants, have not merely maintained the divide between rich and poor, they've widened it. Musk similarly promises liberation through technology while benefiting immensely from subsidies funded by taxpayer money, our money. This supposed solidarity with the average person is little more than fucking smoke and mirrors, a convenient facade that distracts from the uncomfortable truth. No one gains billions without the inequality, exploitation, and systemic advantages that inherently distance them from the lived reality of ordinary people like you and me.
2 steps forward if you never wondered where your next meal was going to come from. I want you guys up here in the front just to turn around.
How can we expect these giants to understand an ant's perspective, so to speak? Hate it? Yeah, I do. I hope you do too. And if not, then you grow to. You should, but that's how it is. Every day, we as a people are grinded down. Our vertebrae, our homes, our stomachs have been broken down and stolen from
the rich. But nothing is ever said about poor.
The way we measure success is so backwards. We call a billionaire sitting on a mountain of wealth successful, but we call 5 hippies restoring a river hopeful, optimistic, idealistic, waste of time, whatever. How does that make sense? We need to reassess how we look at success. We need to reassess in our local communities what we want and what's best for next generations going forward. We can't live like it's the 1950s, and we cannot live like it's the 90s. Mom and Dad, the world has changed rapidly. Well, you know what? So must we. Let's reclaim our narrative. Meaningful transformations rarely ever trickle down, especially from a mountain of gold. If all we do is want a fairer future, a better future for those after us, then the voice of the common person needs to resonate with some amount of power again. We are at a crossroads where silence or only speaking with those amongst our immediate selves will not serve us. Accountability needs to be adorned amongst those who wish to lead us into a world better than the one we're currently in. Where is the genuine opportunity for people like you and me? What will happen to those overlooked when push comes to shove? What happens when the flow of education is eroded onto the individuals? The burden of preparation for a world that never taught us to live now expects us to teach those next with lesser resources than we ever had in any other generations in decades. So I hope that makes some sense. Unity can happen on the phone, through a text. Unity can happen over coffee, during a work break, during a rainy day. We shouldn't champion those who never hand anything down to those when asked, begged, and pleaded. If our voices merge together into a fucking chorus of morality, just maybe we can finally demand something and make it something important that matters, like fairness, justice, or a chance to be heard and actually comprehended. I do believe, personally, we can still shape and change our communities and ourselves into what we need for this world to be a better place. I do believe that. But we have to insist upon each other to do it. And it's going to be really uncomfortable and it's going to take a lot of growth. But once we get that ball rolling, I think it's really important that we don't cut